At a lavish Savannah party, film composer August Whitmore dares any woman to move him with music. When Maid Tiana Brooks touches the piano, everything changes. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The setting sun cast long shadows across the marble floors of the Whitmore estate in Savannah. The grand mansion, with its towering columns and sprawling gardens, stood as a monument to old Southern money and new artistic success. August Whitmore adjusted his black bow tie in front of the antique mirror. At 33, he was the most sought-after composer in the film industry. His piercing blue eyes reflected a man who had everything except love. Another party, another waste of time, he muttered to himself. His assistant Marcus knocked on the door. "The guests are arriving, Mr. Whitmore." August sighed. "Tell me again why I'm hosting this." "Because your new soundtrack just hit #1, and the studio insisted on a celebration." The garden was already filling with the elite of Savannah society, producers in expensive suits, actresses hoping for roles, and investors looking to back his next project. Crystal champagne glasses clinked under string lights, while waiters in white gloves carried silver trays of appetizers. In the kitchen, the catering staff worked frantically. Among them was Tiana Brooks, a new hire from the local staffing agency. At 28, her gentle brown eyes held a quiet strength, and her hands moved with surprising grace as she arranged desserts. "You're new," said Martha, the head housekeeper. "Remember, stay invisible. Mr. Whitmore doesn't like staff mingling with guests." Tiana nodded, but her eyes drifted to the window overlooking the garden party. She'd read about August Whitmore in magazines. His music had gotten her through some of her darkest days. "Brooks, take these champagne flutes to the main room," Martha ordered. Tiana carried the tray carefully. As she passed through the grand hallway, she stopped. There it was, a magnificent Steinway piano gleaming under soft lights. Her fingers itched to touch it. For a moment, she was back at Juilliard, her hands dancing across keys, her future bright. Before her mother got sick, before the bills piled up, before she had to choose between her dreams and survival. "What are you doing?" Martha's sharp voice broke the spell. "Get moving!" Back at the party, August made his rounds, shaking hands, accepting congratulations. Each smile felt more forced than the last. "August, darling," called Vanessa Reynolds, his ex-fiancée and daughter of a studio executive, "the music for my father's new film is divine. You've outdone yourself." "Thank you," he said flatly, taking another glass of champagne from a passing waiter. Vanessa leaned closer. "Everyone's wondering when the great August Whitmore will settle down. Third broken engagement in 5 years. The tabloids are having a field day. Maybe I'm just waiting for someone who loves the music more than the money," he replied coldly. Across the room, Tiana served drinks, keeping her eyes down. She couldn't help overhearing the conversations about August. His talent, his fortune, his string of failed relationships. The gossip magazines called him the maestro without a muse. The night wore on. The alcohol flowed freely, and the laughter grew louder. August felt the familiar emptiness growing inside him. These people didn't care about music. They cared about what his music could do for them. He climbed the steps to the small stage where the string quartet had been playing. The musicians fell silent. "Thank you all for coming," August said, his voice carrying across the garden. "I'm told I should be grateful for my success, and I am, but sometimes I wonder if any of you actually hear the music." A nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. August gestured to the open French doors where his prized Steinway was visible. "That piano belonged to my grandmother. She taught me that music isn't just notes on a page. It's what happens in the space between the notes. The soul." He raised his glass. "I've had enough empty relationships to last a lifetime. So here's a challenge. If any woman here can sit at that Steinway and play something I haven't heard before, something that makes me feel, I'll marry her on the spot." The crowd erupted in laughter, taking it as a joke. "Oh, August, always the dramatic," someone called out. August smiled bitterly. "I'm serious. Any takers?" Women glanced at each other nervously. Most of them could barely play chopsticks. In the background, Tiana froze. Her tray of empty glasses trembled slightly. "No one?" August laughed. "I thought not. Music is hard work. It's easier to just marry the musician." As he stepped down from the stage, a soft voice spoke up. "May I try?" The crowd parted. Tiana stood there in her black uniform, hands clasped in front of her. Martha gasped. "Tiana, get back to the kitchen immediately." August raised an eyebrow. "No, wait." He looked at Tiana curiously. "You want to play?" Tiana met his gaze steadily. Yes, sir, if that's all right. A murmur spread through the crowd. Someone snickered. Well, this should be entertaining, Vanessa said loudly. August gestured toward the house. The piano's all yours, Miss Brooks. Tiana Brooks. Tiana walked through the French doors, the crowd following. August stood by the piano, arms crossed, an amused smile on his face. She sat down, closed her eyes for a moment, and placed her hands on the keys. The first notes were soft, tentative. Then they grew, building into a melody that seemed to rise from somewhere deep and forgotten. It wasn't classical, wasn't jazz, wasn't anything with a name. It was pain, and hope, and memory, all at once. The room fell silent. August's smile faded. His arms dropped to his sides. When Tiana finished, she kept her eyes on the keys. The silence stretched out, heavy with something no one could name. Finally, August spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. What was that? Tiana stood up. Just something I made up. I call it What Remains. Where did you study? He asked. Juilliard, for a while. The crowd buzzed with surprise. August stepped closer. Why are you working as a maid? Tiana lifted her chin. Because life happens, Mr. Whitmore, and sometimes dreams have to wait. Before August could respond, Martha hurried forward. I apologize for the interruption, Mr. Whitmore. It won't happen again. No, August said firmly. No apology needed. He turned to Tiana. Thank you, Miss Brooks. That was unexpected. Tiana nodded and followed Martha back to the kitchen, leaving August standing by the piano, lost in thought. Well? Vanessa's voice cut through his reverie. Should we start planning the wedding? She laughed shrilly. August didn't answer. He was still hearing the music, still feeling it in his chest, like a key turning in a lock. In the kitchen, Martha was furious. What were you thinking? You could lose your job. I'm sorry, Tiana said, though she wasn't. For those few minutes at the piano, she'd been herself again. The party wound down. Guests departed, casting curious glances at August, who had grown quiet and distracted. In his study later that night, August sat in the dark, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He couldn't get the melody out of his head, or the look in Tiana's eyes when she played. Meanwhile, in a small apartment across town, Tiana sat by her mother's bedside. Loretta Brooks was asleep, her breathing labored. I played today, Mama, Tiana whispered, holding her mother's frail hand. I played like you always told me to, with my heart. She thought about August Whitmore's face when she finished playing. The shock, the recognition, like he'd found something he didn't know he was looking for. Tiana knew she'd probably be fired tomorrow. But for one moment, she'd been seen, really seen, and that was worth everything. The next morning, August woke early. He hadn't slept well. The melody from the night before kept playing in his head. He went downstairs to find his grandmother, Lillian, already at the breakfast table. At 80, she was still elegant, her silver hair perfectly styled. I heard about your party challenge, Lillian said, sipping her tea, and about the maid who accepted. August sat down. News travels fast. Martha called me first thing. She wanted to know if she should fire the girl. August looked up sharply. What did you say? Lillian smiled. I told her to wait until I spoke with you. She studied her grandson. The girl affected you, didn't she? Her playing was different. Different how? August struggled to find the words. Honest, raw, like she wasn't playing for anyone but herself. Lillian nodded. That's rare. Most people play to impress, not to express. She said she studied at Juilliard, and now she's cleaning houses. Lillian raised an eyebrow. There's a story there. August stood and walked to the window. I'm not firing her. Of course not, but what are you going to do? He turned back to his grandmother. I don't know yet. Lillian smiled knowingly. I think you do. That same morning, Tiana helped her mother into a wheelchair. The doctor's coming at 10, Mama. Loretta Brooks, once a commanding presence as a choir director, now looked small and tired, but her eyes still held the same fire. You're worried about something. Tiana hesitated. I might have done something foolish at work yesterday. What kind of foolish? I played the piano at my employer's house during a party. Loretta's face lit up. You played? In front of people? Yes. And? Tiana smiled slightly. It felt good, Mama. Really good. Loretta reached for her daughter's hand. God didn't give you those hands to scrub, baby. He gave you those hands to heal. Tiana's phone rang. It was Martha from the agency. Mr. Whitmore wants to see you, Martha said, her voice tight. Today, at the estate. Tiana's heart sank. I understand. After hanging up, she looked at her mother. I think I just lost my job. Loretta squeezed her hand. Or maybe you just found it. Hours later, Tiana stood in August Whitmore's study. She'd put on her best dress, a simple blue one she'd worn to church. August sat behind a large desk, looking at a file. You dropped out of Juilliard in your final year, he said without preamble, with top marks. Your professors called you exceptionally gifted. Tiana stiffened. You looked me up? August closed the file. I was curious. He leaned forward. Why did you leave? My mother got sick. Cancer. The medical bills. She shrugged. Some choices make themselves. August nodded slowly. And now you clean houses. It pays the bills. Tiana lifted her chin. Mr. Whitmore, if you asked me here to fire me, I understand. I overstepped. I'm not firing you. August stood up. I'm offering you a job. A different one. Tiana frowned. What kind of job? I need someone to organize my music library. Cataloging. Digitizing old scores. It pays twice what you're making now. Tiana's eyes narrowed. Is this because you feel sorry for me? August smiled slightly. No, Miss Brooks. It's because I need someone who understands music. And you clearly do. I don't want charity. It's not charity, it's an opportunity. August walked around the desk. You can work flexible hours. Take care of your mother. Tiana hesitated. The money would help with the medical bills and being around music again. I'll think about it, she said finally. August nodded. That's fair. He handed her a business card. Call me when you decide. As Tiana turned to leave, August spoke again. That piece you played, what remains? Would you write it down for me? Tiana looked back at him. Why? Because I can't get it out of my head. His eyes met hers. And I'd like to understand why. For the first time, Tiana smiled. I'll see what I can do, Mr. Whitmore. As she left the estate, Tiana felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, hope. And August, watching her walk away, felt something he couldn't yet name. But it made his heart beat in a rhythm that sounded strangely like the beginning of a new song. 3 days later, Tiana stood at the gates of the Whitmore estate, clutching her bag. She'd called August the night before to accept his offer. You're making the right choice, her mother had told her. Music has always been your calling. The housekeeper, Martha, opened the door with a tight smile. Mr. Whitmore is in his studio, follow me. They walked through the grand house to a separate wing. Martha knocked on a large wooden door. Come in, August called. The studio was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the garden. A top-of-the-line sound system lined one wall. In the center sat a black grand piano. Shelves of awards glittered in the morning light. August was at his desk, headphones around his neck. He smiled when he saw Tiana. Miss Brooks, welcome. Martha left, closing the door behind her. This is quite a workspace, Tiana said, looking around. Where the magic happens, or is supposed to happen. August stood up. I haven't written anything good in months. He led her to a cluttered room off the main studio. This is what I need organized. 30 years of my grandmother's compositions, plus my own. Stacks of sheet music, old records and digital drives filled the space. It's a mess, August admitted. Think you can handle it? Tiana rolled up her sleeves. I'll start right away. As the days passed, Tiana fell into a routine. She'd arrive early, spend the morning sorting through August's musical collection, take a break to check on her mother, then return for the afternoon. August was often composing, or trying to. She could hear his frustration through the wall as he played the same phrases over and over. One morning, Tiana found a folder labeled Lillian Whitmore, Unpublished Works. Inside were handwritten compositions, yellowed with age but filled with beautiful, complex melodies. She couldn't resist. She took the sheets to the piano in the corner of her workroom and began to play softly. The door opened. August stood there, a strange expression on his face. Tiana jumped up. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have... No, please. August came closer. That's my grandmother's music. No one's played it in years. It's beautiful. She wrote it during the war, while my grandfather was overseas. August sat down on the bench. She never published it, said it was too personal. Tiana sat beside him. Music is always personal. That's what makes it powerful. August looked at her. You really believe that, don't you? Of course. Why else would we do it? Tiana's fingers brushed the keys. When I play, I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm just speaking in the only language that ever made sense to me. August was quiet for a moment. I used to feel that way, before the studios and the deadlines and the expectations. What changed? Success. He laughed without humor. Turns out it's easier to write hits than it is to write truth. Tiana shook her head. The song I played at your party wasn't special because it was original. It was special because it was honest. Their eyes met. Something shifted in the air between them. August cleared his throat. I should get back to work. He stood up. But thank you for reminding me. That evening, as Tiana prepared to leave, she heard music coming from the main studio. Not the frustrated repetition of earlier days, but something flowing and natural. She paused at the door, listening. It was a new melody, but with echoes of what she'd played at the party. It was as if August had taken her theme and built something larger around it, something both familiar and new. She smiled to herself and quietly left. The next day, August was different, more focused, less frustrated. I made progress yesterday, he told her. First time in months. I heard. It sounded wonderful. He looked at her curiously. What do you think music should do, Tiana? She thought about it. Make you feel less alone. August nodded slowly. That's it, exactly. Later that week, Lillian Whitmore came to visit. Tiana was cataloguing recordings when the elegant older woman appeared at her door. So you're the pianist my grandson can't stop talking about. Tiana stood up quickly. Mrs. Whitmore, it's an honor. Lillian waved her hand. Call me Lillian, dear. May I? She gestured to the piano. Of course. Lillian sat down, her fingers moving across the keys with surprising strength for a woman of her age. The melody was playful, light. August tells me you were at Juilliard. Yes, Mum. Until my mother got sick. Lillian nodded. Family comes first, I respect that. She looked at Tiana closely. You know, I was a concert pianist before I married. Played all over Europe. That must have been amazing. It was. But then I met Richard Whitmore, and music became something different. Lillian smiled at the memory. Instead of playing for audiences, I played for love. She stood up. You've done something remarkable, Miss Brooks. You've reminded my grandson why he started composing in the first place. I don't think I did anything special. That's where you're wrong. Lillian patted her hand. I used to be the only woman in this house who understood music didn't care what color your skin was. Now you're the second. After Lillian left, August found Tiana still thinking about the older woman's words. My grandmother likes you, he said. She doesn't like many people. She's remarkable. She is. August hesitated. Tiana, I have a favor to ask. The studio is hosting a dinner next week for some investors. Would you come? As my guest, not as staff. Tiana blinked in surprise. Why? Because I value your opinion, and because you might enjoy a night out. She thought about her mother, about the medical bills still piling up, about the difference between being August's employee and being his guest. I'll need to arrange care for my mother. I can help with that. No. Tiana shook her head firmly. That's my responsibility. August nodded. I understand, but the invitation stands. That night, Tiana discussed it with her mother. You should go, Loretta insisted. Mrs. Johnson next door can stay with me. It's just a business dinner, Mama. Loretta raised an eyebrow. Is it? The way you talk about this Matt? He's my boss. Mm-hmm. Loretta smiled knowingly. And the sky is just blue. The night of the dinner arrived. Tiana wore her only nice dress, a simple black one she'd bought for a recital years ago. As August's car pulled up to her apartment building, she felt a flutter of nerves. August stepped out, handsome in a tailored suit. He stopped short when he saw her. You look beautiful, he said softly. It's just an old dress. It's not the dress. His eyes met hers. It's you. The restaurant was the fanciest place Tiana had ever been. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Men in expensive suits and women dripping in jewelry filled the private room. August, darling. Vanessa Reynolds appeared, looking stunning in a red gown. Her smile faltered when she saw Tiana. And who's this? Tiana Brooks, my music archivist. August's hand rested lightly on Tiana's back. Tiana, this is Vanessa Reynolds. The ex-fiancée, Vanessa said with a tight smile. Although ex is such a harsh word, isn't it, August? Throughout dinner, Tiana felt out of place. The conversation revolved around money, connections, and studio politics. Vanessa kept touching August's arm, laughing too loudly at his comments. So, Tiana, said Maxwell Porter, a studio executive, August tells me you're quite the pianist. I play a little, she said modestly. More than a little, August corrected. Tiana was at Juilliard. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. And now you're filing August's sheet music? That's quite a career change. Before Tiana could respond, Maxwell spoke up. The restaurant has a piano in the main dining room. Perhaps you could play something for us after dinner. Tiana looked at August, who seemed uncomfortable. I don't think... Actually, Tiana interrupted, I'd love to. After dinner, they moved to the main dining room. The maître d' led Tiana to a beautiful white piano in the corner. As she sat down, Tiana felt a moment of panic. These people weren't her friends. They were judging her, testing her. She closed her eyes and thought of her mother, of August's face when he heard her play for the first time, of Lillian's words about playing for love. Her fingers found the keys, and she began to play. Not the flashy classical pieces she'd learned at Juilliard, but something simple and heartfelt. The melody she'd played at August's party, but fuller now, more developed. When she finished, the room was silent. Then applause broke out, not just from their table, but from the entire restaurant. August was looking at her with an expression she couldn't read. Pride, admiration, something more. That was my mother's favorite melody, she explained as they drove home. I've been working on it for years. It's extraordinary. August glanced at her. You're extraordinary. Outside her apartment, he walked her to the door. Thank you for coming tonight, he said. I know it wasn't easy. Your friends are interesting. August laughed. They're not my friends. They're business associates. He grew serious. My friends are much rarer. Their eyes met in the dim light of the hallway. For a moment, Tiana thought he might kiss her. Her heart raced. Instead, he squeezed her hand. Good night, Tiana. The next morning, Tiana arrived at work to find August already in the studio playing a new piece. It incorporated elements of what she'd played the night before, woven into something larger and more complex. That's beautiful, she said from the doorway. August looked up, his face lighting up when he saw her. It's for the new film I'm scoring. The director heard your playing last night and loved it. My playing? I recorded a bit on my phone. He looked sheepish. I hope you don't mind. Of course not. He wants to use elements of your melody as the love theme. August hesitated. With your permission, of course, you'd get full credit and payment. Tiana's mind raced. Credit on a major film score. Money that could help with her mother's treatments. Yes, she said, I'd be honored. As they worked together over the next few weeks, something changed between them. August sought her opinion on his compositions. They played together, improvising and laughing when they made mistakes. One evening, as sunset painted the studio in gold, August asked about her mother. The doctors say the new treatment is working, Tiana told him. She's getting stronger. I'd like to meet her someday. Tiana smiled. She'd like that. She listens to your music all the time. My grandmother wants to meet her too. She suggested a dinner at the estate. That's very kind, but... No buts, August interrupted gently. Just say yes. So on a warm Sunday evening, Loretta Brooks came to dinner at the Whitmore estate. She sat in her wheelchair, her head held high, every inch the choir director she once was. Lillian took to her immediately. I hear you have quite the voice, Mrs. Brooks. And I hear you have quite the talent, Mrs. Whitmore. The two older women exchanged knowing looks, as if sharing a secret. After dinner, they moved to the music room. August sat at the piano playing softly while the others talked. Play something with Tiana, Lillian suggested. August looked at Tiana. Shall we? Together, they sat at the piano. Without discussion, they began to play, their hands moving in perfect sync. The melody grew between them, neither leading nor following, just creating together. When they finished, Loretta had tears in her eyes. That's what music is supposed to be, she said. A conversation between souls. Later, as August helped Loretta into the car, she gripped his hand. You're good for my daughter, she said quietly. She's smiling again. August watched them drive away, feeling a warmth in his chest he hadn't felt in years. The next day, Tiana didn't come to work. August called, worried, but got no answer. By afternoon, he was concerned enough to drive to her apartment. He knocked on the door, heart pounding. A neighbor poked her head out. If you're looking for Tiana, she's at Memorial Hospital. Her mother took a turn last night. August found them in the ICU waiting room. Tiana looked up, surprised to see him. August? What are you doing here? Your neighbor told me. He sat beside her. How is she? Not good. Tiana's voice broke. The doctors say it's spread. They're doing what they can, but... Without thinking, August pulled her into his arms. She stiffened, then relaxed against him, her tears soaking his shirt. I can't lose her, she whispered. She's all I have. You have me, August said softly. You have me. They stayed like that for a long time, until a nurse came to tell them they could see Loretta. August waited outside while Tiana went in. Hours passed. August made calls, arranged for food to be delivered, cancelled meetings. When Tiana finally emerged, her eyes were red but dry. "She's stable, for now. Let me drive you home. You need rest." At her apartment, August hesitated at the door. "Will you be all right alone?" Tiana looked at him, really looked at him, the concern in his eyes, the way he'd dropped everything to be with her. "Stay," she said, "just for a little while." They sat on her small couch, talking quietly, about her mother, about music, about dreams put on hold. "When I was little," Tiana said, "my mother used to record me playing. She has boxes of cassettes somewhere. I'd love to hear them sometime." Tiana smiled tiredly. "They're terrible." "But she kept them anyway. Because she believed in you." "Yes, even when I stopped believing in myself." August took her hand. "I believe in you too." Their eyes met. This time there was no hesitation. August leaned forward and kissed her gently. Tiana felt something inside her break open, like a song finding its chorus. When they pulled apart, August touched her face. "I've wanted to do that since the first time I heard you play. Why didn't you?" "I was afraid. Of feeling too much. Of not being enough." Tiana kissed him again, a promise in the press of her lips. "You are enough." The days that followed were a blur of hospital visits and quiet moments together. August rearranged his schedule to be with Tiana as much as possible. He brought his laptop to the hospital, composing while she sat with her mother. One afternoon, he found Tiana in the hospital chapel, crying softly. "The doctors say it's just a matter of time," she told him. "Weeks, maybe." August held her close. "What can I do? Just be here. Always," he promised. That night, August couldn't sleep. An idea had taken hold of him. He went to his studio and began to work, the music flowing from his fingers like a prayer. The next morning, he arrived at the hospital with his laptop and a small speaker. "I want to play something for your mother," he told Tiana. "A new piece." In Loretta's room, August set up the speaker. The music began softly, Tiana's melody interwoven with something new. It built slowly, like a story being told note by note, joy and sorrow, hope and pain all dancing together. Loretta's eyes fluttered open. She smiled weakly. "That's my girl's music. And mine," August said, taking Tiana's hand. "We wrote it together." "Good." Loretta's voice was barely a whisper. "Music needs partners." After a week of keeping vigil, Tiana fell asleep in the hospital chair. August covered her with his jacket and stepped out to call his grandmother. "How are they?" Lillian asked. "Loretta's holding on. Tiana's exhausted." "And you, my dear?" August sighed. "I'm in love with her, Grandma." "I know." Lillian's voice was warm. "Have you told her?" "Not yet. It doesn't seem like the right time." "There's never a perfect time for love, August. Just perfect people." When he returned to the room, Tiana was awake, looking at her phone. "What's wrong?" he asked, seeing her expression. "It's the creditors. The medical bills." She shook her head. "I don't know how I'll ever pay them." August sat beside her. "Let me help." "I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering." He took her hands. "Tiana, when you came into my life, you brought the music back. Let me do this for you. For your mother." Tiana looked at him, tears filling her eyes. "Why? Why would you do this?" "Because I love you." The words hung in the air between them, simple and true. Tiana's breath caught. "August, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know." But Tiana shook her head, a small smile breaking through her tears. "I love you too. I think I have since that first night at the piano." August pulled her close, his heart full to bursting. In the midst of sorrow, they had found each other. In the space between notes, they had found love, and though they couldn't know what tomorrow would bring, for now, they had this moment, this perfect harmony. In her hospital bed, Loretta watched them with a peaceful smile. Her daughter had found her song again, and this time she wouldn't have to play it alone. 2 weeks later, Loretta Brooks passed away peacefully in her sleep. Tiana was by her side, holding her hand. August stood nearby, a silent support. The funeral was held at the First Baptist Church, where Loretta had directed the choir for 20 years. The pews were filled with people whose lives she had touched. Former choir members sang her favorite hymns, their voices rising to the rafters. Tiana sat in the front row, August beside her. His hand never left hers. "She looks so peaceful," Lillian Whitmore whispered, seated on Tiana's other side. The elderly woman had insisted on attending, despite her arthritis acting up. After the service, people lined up to offer condolences. They hugged Tiana, told stories about her mother, pressed casseroles into her hands. "Your mama was so proud of you," said Mrs. Johnson, their neighbor. She played your Juilliard recordings for anyone who would listen. By the time they returned to Tiana's apartment, she was exhausted. August guided her to the couch. "Can I get you anything?" he asked. "Just stay with me." They sat in silence, his arm around her shoulders. The apartment felt empty without Loretta's presence. "I don't know what I'm going to do now," Tiana admitted. "This place feels so hollow." "You don't have to decide anything right now." August kissed her forehead. "Just breathe." The days that followed were a blur. August helped Tiana sort through Loretta's belongings. Each item held a memory: her choir robes, her collection of gospel records, the Bible she'd read every night. "Look at this," Tiana said one afternoon, opening a box she'd found in her mother's closet. Inside were dozens of cassette tapes, each labeled with Tiana's name and a date. "My recitals." August picked one up. May 12, 1999. Tiana plays Mozart. Tiana smiled through her tears. "I was 8. I messed up the middle section so badly. She kept them all. She believed in me when no one else did." Tiana closed the box carefully. "Even when I stopped believing in myself." That night, August took Tiana to dinner at a quiet restaurant away from the crowds. "I've been thinking," he said as they finished their meal. "The guest house on my property is sitting empty. It has a piano. You could stay there while you figure things out." Tiana looked surprised. "Move in with you?" "Not with me exactly. The guest house is separate. You'd have your own space." He took her hand. "No pressure, just an option." Tiana thought about her empty apartment, the memories, the bills that kept arriving despite her mother's passing. "I'll think about it," she said. The next day, August was in his studio when his phone rang. It was Stephen Keller, the film director he was working with. "August, the studio executives just heard your latest pieces. They're blown away." "That's great news. They want to meet the woman who inspired it, your pianist friend." August hesitated. "Tiana's just lost her mother. She's not ready for industry meetings." "This could be huge for both of you. The score is being considered for award nominations already." "I'll talk to her," August promised, but no pressure. When he told Tiana about the call, she seemed overwhelmed. "I don't know if I can handle that right now." "We can wait," August assured her. "The film won't be released for months." Tiana shook her head. "No, my mother would want me to move forward." She squeezed his hand. "And yes, I'll stay in your guest house for a while." The guest house was charming. A small cottage with a bedroom, living area and kitchen. French doors opened onto a garden, and in the corner sat a baby grand piano. "It's perfect," Tiana said, as August showed her around. "My grandmother used to practice here when she wanted privacy." August smiled. "She'll be happy to know you're using it." As Tiana settled in, she began to heal. She played the piano for hours each day, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying. The music became her therapy. August gave her space, but checked on her daily. They had dinner together most nights, either at the main house or in town. One evening Lillian joined them. She watched Tiana and August with knowing eyes. "You remind me of Richard and me," she told them. "He looked at me the same way August looks at you." Tiana blushed. "We're still figuring things out. Love isn't something you figure out, dear. It's something you fall into, like a familiar melody." Later that week, August took Tiana to the studio to meet with Stephen Keller. The director was immediately charmed by her. "Your melody is the heart of this score," he told her. "We'd like to feature you playing it over the closing credits." Tiana looked at August in surprise. "Me? Playing?" "It would be perfect," Stephen insisted. "The composer and his muse performing together." "I'm not his muse," Tiana corrected. "I'm a musician." Stephen smiled. "Even better. We'll film it next month if that works for you." As they left the meeting, August noticed Tiana was quiet. "What's wrong?" "If you don't want to do the recording, you don't have to." "It's not that." She looked troubled. "It's the way he called me your muse. Like I'm just an inspiration, not a creator in my own right." August stopped walking. "You're right. I'm sorry, I should have corrected him. It's not your fault, it's just..." Tiana sighed. "All my life people have put me in boxes. The poor black girl who plays classical piano, the maid who surprised everyone with her talent. Now I'm the composer's girlfriend who inspired his comeback." August took her hands. "You're so much more than any of those labels. You're Tiana Brooks, extraordinary pianist and composer, and I'm the lucky man who gets to create music with you." His words warmed her heart, but the doubt lingered. Could she really build a career after all this time? Would people take her seriously, or would she always be seen through the lens of her relationship with August? The next day, Tiana was practicing when there was a knock at the guest house door. She opened it to find Vanessa Reynolds standing there, immaculate in a designer dress. "Hello, Tiana. May I come in?" Warily, Tiana stepped aside. Vanessa entered, looking around with barely concealed disdain. "Cozy," she said. "August told me you were staying here. What can I do for you, Vanessa?" "I came to congratulate you. August's new score is getting tremendous buzz." Vanessa sat uninvited on the sofa. "And now I hear you'll be performing for the film. Quite a rise from housekeeping." Tiana crossed her arms. "Was there something specific you wanted to discuss?" "I'm just curious about your arrangement with August." Vanessa's smile was sharp. "It's all happened very quickly. Our relationship isn't any of your business." "Oh, but it is. You see, August and I have history. 10 years of it." Vanessa stood up. "Did he tell you we were discussing reconciliation right before you came along?" Tiana kept her face neutral, though her heart raced. "Again, that's between you and August. He has a pattern, you know, getting caught up in the novelty of someone, then moving on when the excitement fades." Vanessa moved toward the door. "Just something to consider, especially if you're banking your career on his interest." After she left, Tiana sat at the piano, troubled. Was there truth to Vanessa's words? August had a history of failed relationships. The tabloids called him the maestro without a muse for a reason. She was still playing angry, dissonant chords when August found her hours later. "That doesn't sound like your usual style," he said from the doorway. Tiana stopped abruptly. "Vanessa came by today." August's smile disappeared. "What did she want?" "To warn me, apparently, about your pattern of losing interest in relationships." August sat beside her on the bench. "Vanessa and I were over long before I met you. She's just upset because the studio chose my score over her father's recommendation. She said you were discussing reconciliation." "That's not true." August took Tiana's hands. "Listen to me. What I feel for you is different from anything I've ever felt before. It's real, it's lasting." Tiana wanted to believe him, but doubt had taken root. "I need time to think," she said quietly. August nodded, pain in his eyes. "I understand." For the next few days, Tiana kept to herself. She played the piano, walked in the gardens, thought about her mother. What would Loretta tell her to do? One afternoon, she found Lillian sitting on a bench in the rose garden. "May I join you?" Tiana asked. "Please." Lillian patted the seat beside her. "I could use the company." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lillian spoke. "My grandson is miserable, you know. He's playing the saddest music I've heard in years." Tiana sighed. "Vanessa said some things that made me question everything." "Ah, Vanessa." Lillian frowned. "That woman has been trying to sink her claws into the Whitmore fortune since she was a teenager. She said August has a pattern of losing interest." "August has a pattern of protecting himself." Lillian turned to face Tiana. "His parents were rarely home. His father criticized everything he did. He learned early that love was conditional." "I didn't know that." "He doesn't talk about it." Lillian took Tiana's hand. "But with you, he's different. Open, vulnerable. I haven't seen him like this since he was a boy." Tiana thought about the way August looked at her when she played. How he dropped everything to be with her during her mother's illness. How he never asked her to be anything but herself. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Not just of getting hurt, but of losing myself in his world." "Then don't." Lillian's voice was firm. "Stand your ground. Be Tiana Brooks, the pianist, not just August Whitmore's girlfriend." The next morning, Tiana found August in his studio, working on a new piece. "Can we talk?" she asked from the doorway. He turned, hope and wariness in his eyes. "Of course." Tiana sat across from him. "I'm sorry I pulled away. I was afraid." "Of what?" "Of losing myself, of being defined by our relationship instead of my own talent." She took a deep breath. "My whole life, I've been fighting to be seen for who I am." August nodded. "I understand that. What can I do to help? Give me space to grow as an artist, to find my own path." "I will, always." He hesitated. "There's something I want to show you." He led her to another room in the studio, one she hadn't been in before. Inside was a small recording setup and another piano. "I want you to have this space, to compose, to record, to create, whatever you want. No strings attached." August looked earnest. "Your name doesn't have to be linked to mine professionally if you don't want it to be." Tiana walked around the room, touched by his gesture. "Thank you. And there's something else." August handed her an envelope. "It's an application for a special program at the Atlanta Symphony, for composers. I think you should apply." Tiana opened it, surprised. "You think I'm ready for this?" "I know you are." Their eyes met, and the tension of the past days melted away. Tiana stepped forward and kissed him softly. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," he replied. "All of you. The pianist, the composer, the woman who challenges me every day." In the weeks that followed, Tiana found her footing. She continued to help August with his work, but also spent hours in her new studio space, developing her own compositions. She applied for the symphony program and began giving piano lessons to children from her mother's church. August supported her every step of the way, proud of her independence. The day came for their recording session for the film. They would play Tiana's melody, now expanded into a full piece, with August on one piano and Tiana on another. Cameras would capture the performance for the film's closing credits. Tiana was nervous as they set up in a grand recording studio. Lights, cameras, sound equipment surrounded them. "Don't worry about the cameras," August told her. "Just play for yourself, like you always do." The director called for quiet. The red light came on. August nodded to Tiana, and they began to play. The melody flowed between them, a conversation in notes. It told their story, from that first night at the party to Loretta's hospital room, from doubt to trust, from loss to love. When they finished, the studio was silent. Then applause broke out from the crew. "That was magical," Stephen said, wiping a tear. "Absolutely magical." Later that night at a celebration dinner, Stephen raised a toast. "To August and Tiana, the most exciting musical partnership I've seen in years." Tiana smiled at the word partnership, not muse, not girlfriend, partner. After dinner, August suggested a walk along the riverfront. The Savannah night was warm, stars twinkling above. "I'm so proud of you," August said, squeezing her hand. "You were amazing today." "We were amazing together," Tiana corrected. "I never thought I'd find someone who understood my music the way you do." August stopped walking and turned to face her. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you." Tiana's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" "Remember that night at the party, when I made that ridiculous challenge about marrying anyone who could play something I hadn't heard before?" She laughed. "How could I forget? It was the most arrogant thing I'd ever heard." "Well, I was wrong about so many things that night." August took both her hands. "But I was right about one thing. I did find the woman I want to spend my life with." Tiana's breath caught as August knelt down on one knee. "Tiana Brooks, you brought music back into my life when all I could hear was noise. You challenged me, inspired me, and loved me at my worst." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "Will you marry me?" Inside the box was a ring, not a flashy diamond, but a band of gold with small musical notes engraved around it. Tears filled Tiana's eyes. "August, you don't have to answer right away," he said quickly. "I know it's soon. And with your mother?" "Yes," she interrupted. "My answer is yes." Joy spread across August's face. He slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms for a kiss that felt like the beginning of a new song. When they finally broke apart, Tiana looked at the ring sparkling in the moonlight. "It's perfect," she said. "Not too flashy." "Like our love," August replied. "Not for show, just true." They walked back hand in hand, planning their future together. A small wedding, a honeymoon in Paris, where they could visit the great concert halls. A life filled with music and love. But back at the estate, a surprise was waiting. Vanessa's car was parked in the driveway. "What is she doing here?" Tiana asked, tension returning to her shoulders. "I have no idea." August frowned. "Let's find out." They found Vanessa in the main house, talking with Lillian. When she saw them, her eyes immediately went to the ring on Tiana's finger. "Well," she said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Congratulations are in order, I see." "Thank you," August said coolly. "What brings you here, Vanessa?" Vanessa held up a magazine. On the cover was a photo of August and Tiana at the recording studio playing together. The headline read, "The Maestro Finds His Muse, August Whitmore's Rags to Riches Romance." "This hit the stands today," Vanessa said. "I thought you should see it before the reporters start camping out on your lawn." Tiana took the magazine, reading the subtitle, "From Maid to Musical Partner, How a Juilliard Dropout Captured the Heart of Hollywood's Most Eligible Composer." "They make it sound like I was hunting for a rich husband," she said, disgusted. "The press loves a Cinderella story," Vanessa shrugged, "especially one with a diverse twist." August tensed. "That's enough, Vanessa." "I'm just the messenger," Vanessa said innocently. "The article mentions your mother's death, Tiana, and your financial troubles. Even your job as a maid, someone did their research. Or someone talked to the press," Lillian said sharply. "Someone who knew all those details." Vanessa's smile tightened. I should go. I just wanted to warn you both. The press can be so invasive. After she left, Tiana sat heavily on the sofa, still holding the magazine. I'm sorry, August said, sitting beside her. I should have expected this. It's not your fault. Tiana sighed. I just hate how they've twisted our story. Made it seem like I was after your money. No one who knows you would ever believe that. But what about everyone else? Your colleagues? Your fans? Tiana looked at the ring on her finger. Is this what our life will be like? Constant scrutiny, judgments about my motives. August put his arm around her. We can't control what others think. We can only know the truth ourselves. Lillian sat across from them. When Richard and I got married, people said I was after the Whitmore fortune too. Said I'd given up my career for money. What did you do? Tiana asked. I kept playing. Not on the grand stages anymore, but wherever I could. I taught. I composed. Lillian smiled. I showed them through my actions that music was always my first love. Tiana nodded, understanding. That's what I need to do too. The next morning, Tiana woke early. She went to her studio space and began to work on a new piece, something she'd been hearing in her head since August proposed. Hours later, August found her still at the piano. You've been busy, he said, kissing the top of her head. I'm writing our wedding music, she explained, something that tells our real story, not the tabloid version. August listened as she played what she'd written so far. It began with two separate melodies, one stately and confident, the other more hesitant but beautiful. Gradually they intertwined, creating something greater than either alone. It's us, he said softly. It's us, she agreed, and no magazine can change that. Later that day, Tiana got a call from the Atlanta Symphony. She'd been accepted into their composers program. Congratulations! August picked her up and spun her around when she told him. I knew you could do it. It starts next month, she said. I'll be busy with classes and workshops. And wedding planning, he added with a smile. A small wedding, Tiana reminded him. Just family and close friends. Whatever you want. August kissed her. As long as you play our song. That evening they sat on the porch of the guest house watching the sunset. August had his arm around Tiana, her head resting on his shoulder. Are you worried about the press? He asked. About what they'll say when we announce the engagement? Tiana thought about it. No, she said finally. Let them talk. We know the truth. And what is the truth, Miss Brooks? August asked, his voice tender. Tiana smiled up at him. That sometimes the most beautiful music comes from unexpected places. And that love, real love, doesn't care about backgrounds or bank accounts. August kissed her softly. I couldn't have said it better myself. As darkness fell, they stayed on the porch planning their future, note by note. The criticism would come, the judgments, the assumptions, but they had something stronger. A love built on understanding, respect, and the shared language of music. And that, Tiana knew, was a song worth fighting for. The news of August and Tiana's engagement spread quickly through Savannah society. Just as Vanessa had predicted, reporters began calling. Some even camped outside the estate gates, hoping for a glimpse of the couple. This is ridiculous, August said one morning, pulling the curtains closed against the cameras with telephoto lenses. I'm sorry you have to deal with this. Tiana squeezed his hand. It's not your fault. Maybe we should go away for a while. Take a trip until this dies down. But Tiana shook her head. No, I won't hide. I have the symphony program starting next week, and you have the film score to finish. August admired her strength. At least let me hire security. Some of these reporters are getting aggressive. She agreed to that compromise. A security team was brought in to patrol the estate grounds and accompany Tiana when she went into town. The following Monday, Tiana attended her first day at the Atlanta Symphony Composers Program. She felt nervous as she entered the building, aware of the whispers and stares from the other participants. Aren't you August Whitmore's fiancée? A young man asked as they waited for the instructor. Yes, Tiana replied, but I'm also a composer in my own right. The instructor, Dr. Eleanor Martinez, was a renowned composer herself. She greeted each student warmly, but when she came to Tiana, her smile tightened. Miss Brooks, your application was interesting. Dr. Martinez looked at her clipboard. You left Juilliard before graduating? Yes, due to family circumstances. And you haven't composed professionally since then? Not professionally, no, but I've never stopped writing music. Dr. Martinez nodded. Well, this program is highly competitive. Everyone here earned their spot based on talent alone. The implication was clear. Some thought Tiana had gotten in because of her relationship with August. I understand, Tiana said evenly, and I look forward to proving myself. The class was challenging. Doctor, Martinez pushed them hard, critiquing their work bluntly. When it was Tiana's turn to present her composition, she felt all eyes on her. She played the piece she'd been working on, not the wedding music, but something else. Something that spoke of her journey from Juilliard to her mother's sickbed to finding love again. When she finished, the room was silent. "Your technique is rusty," Dr. Martinez said finally, "but there's undeniable emotion in your work, raw talent that needs refinement." It wasn't high praise, but it was honest. Tiana would take that over false flattery any day. After class, a few students approached her. "That was beautiful," said Lisa, a violinist turned composer. "I felt every note." "Thanks," Tiana replied, surprised by the genuine compliment. "Some of us are getting coffee," Lisa continued. "Would you like to join us?" For the first time since starting the program, Tiana felt like she might belong after all. Meanwhile, August was facing his own challenges. The film studio executives were pressuring him to make the score more commercial. "We need something catchier," said Robert Phillips, the head of the music department. "Something that will sell soundtracks." "The score works perfectly with the film," August argued. "It tells the story." "It's too artsy." Robert shuffled some papers. "And while we're on the subject, this melody you and your fiancé created. It's lovely, but we're thinking of bringing in a pop star to record a version for the end credits." August stiffened. That wasn't the agreement. Plans change. Marketing thinks it will help reach a broader audience. The agreement was that Tiana and I would perform it. Robert sighed. "Look, August, we all know you're in love. It's a great story, but this is business." August left the meeting furious. He called Stephen Keller, the director, who promised to fight for the original plan. But even Stephen seemed uncertain. "The studio has final say on the music," he admitted. "I'll do what I can, but prepare Tiana for the possibility." That evening, August broke the news to Tiana over dinner. "They can't do that," she said, putting down her fork. "We have a contract. The contract has loopholes." August ran a hand through his hair. "I'm so sorry, Tiana. I should have been more careful." "It's not your fault." Tiana was quiet for a moment. "Maybe it's for the best. I should be focusing on my own work anyway." "No," August said firmly. "We're not giving up. I'm meeting with my lawyer tomorrow." But Tiana placed her hand over his. "August, listen to me. I appreciate you fighting for this, but I need to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm in this program now. I'm building something for myself." August looked at her with admiration. "You're amazing, you know that?" "I'm just trying to find my way," she smiled. "Besides, your work is too good to compromise. Don't let them ruin it over marketing concerns." August pulled her into his arms. "Have I told you today how much I love you?" "Yes, but I don't mind hearing it again." As they settled into a rhythm over the next few weeks, the press attention gradually faded. Tiana threw herself into her studies, improving rapidly under Dr. Martinez's tough guidance. August continued to fight for his original vision for the film score. Their wedding plans progressed slowly. They decided on a small ceremony in the garden of the Whitmore estate, with just close friends and family. "My mother would have loved this," Tiana said one evening as they looked at flower arrangements. "She'll be there in spirit," August assured her, "and in the music you're writing for the ceremony." Tiana had been working on their wedding piece whenever she had spare time. It had evolved into something complex yet intimate, a true reflection of their relationship. One afternoon, as Tiana was practicing in her studio, Lillian came to visit. "That sounds beautiful," the older woman said from the doorway. "Is it for the wedding?" "Yes," Tiana smiled. "Would you like to hear what I have so far?" Lillian sat beside her on the bench as Tiana played. When she finished, Lillian had tears in her eyes. "That's the most beautiful love song I've heard in a long time," she said. "It reminds me of what I wrote for Richard when we married." "You wrote music for your wedding too," Lillian nodded. "I did, but in those days it wasn't considered proper for a woman to compose. The program listed it as traditional arranged by L. Whitmore. That's terrible. It was a different time." Lillian patted Tiana's hand. "Which is why I'm so proud of you. You're claiming your place. Your name will be on that program and on everything else you create." Before Tiana could respond, August burst into the studio, his face alight with excitement. "We won," he announced. "Stephen and I convinced the studio. They're keeping our original plan for the end credits, you and me playing together." Tiana jumped up to hug him. "That's wonderful news." "And there's more," August continued. "They want to release the full score as an album, including your melody as a featured track, with your name as co-composer." "Co-composer?" Tiana repeated, stunned. "It's your music as much as mine," August said. "You deserve the credit." Lillian smiled from the piano bench. What did I tell you? Your name on the program. The weeks flew by. Tiana's classes at the symphony program came to an end, with Dr. Martinez asking her to apply for the advanced course the following semester. You've shown remarkable growth, the instructor told her. Your final composition was exceptional. Thank you, Tiana said, touched by the praise. That means a lot coming from you. And for what it's worth, Dr. Martinez added, no one thinks you're here because of your fiancé anymore. Your talent speaks for itself. The film's completion date approached. August and Tiana spent long hours in the recording studio, perfecting their performance for the end credits. The filming itself was a simple affair, just the two of them at their pianos, playing the melody that had brought them together. That's a wrap, Stephen called after the final take. Absolutely perfect. August kissed Tiana right there on the set, not caring about the cameras still rolling. Get a room, you two, Stephen laughed. Save something for the honeymoon. With the film completed and Tiana's program finished, they could finally focus on their wedding. It was scheduled for the first day of spring, just 2 weeks away. The invitations had been sent, a small list of close friends and colleagues. Tiana had chosen a simple ivory dress, elegant but not flashy. August had his grandmother's ring resized for the ceremony, a family heirloom Lillian insisted Tiana should have. Everything was falling into place until 3 days before the wedding, when Tiana received a letter. The return address made her heart skip a beat. Juilliard School of Music. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was an offer, a special 1-year program to complete her degree with a full scholarship. They want me back, she whispered, sitting heavily on the couch. After all this time. When August came home that evening, he found her still holding the letter, her expression troubled. What's wrong? He asked. Juilliard offered me a scholarship to finish my degree. She handed him the letter. I never thought they'd consider me after all these years. August read it quickly. This is amazing, Tiana. It's exactly what you deserve. But it's in New York for a full year. She looked at him worriedly. We're getting married in 3 days. Understanding dawned on August's face. You're worried about our plans. How can I go to New York when we're just starting our life together, when your work is here? August sat beside her and took her hands. Tiana, listen to me. This is your dream, the one you put on hold for your mother. I would never ask you to set it aside again, especially not for me. But what about us? New York isn't the moon, August smiled. I can compose anywhere. We'll make it work. You'd move to New York. In a heartbeat, he kissed her softly. My home is wherever you are. Tears filled Tiana's eyes. I love you so much. I love you too. Enough to make sure you get everything you've ever dreamed of. August wiped a tear from her cheek. Now are we accepting this offer or what? Tiana nodded, her heart full. Yes, we are. The wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. The garden was transformed with white roses and twinkling lights. Chairs were arranged in a semicircle around a floral arch. In the center, 2 grand pianos stood side by side. Inside the house, Tiana prepared with the help of Lisa from her program, who had quickly become a close friend. You look stunning, Lisa said as she fastened the last button on Tiana's dress. There was a knock at the door. Lillian entered, elegant in blue lace. May I have a moment alone with the bride? She asked. When Lisa left, Lillian approached Tiana with a small box. I have something for you. A tradition in our family. Inside was a delicate pearl necklace. It's beautiful, Tiana breathed. I wore it at my wedding. August's mother wore it at hers. Lillian fastened it around Tiana's neck. And now it's yours. Thank you. Tiana hugged the older woman. For everything. No thanks needed, my dear. You've brought music back into this house, into August's life. Lillian's eyes were bright with emotion. I couldn't have chosen better for my grandson if I'd tried for 100 years. Downstairs, guests were arriving. August waited nervously by the pianos, his best friend Marcus beside him. Relax, Marcus said. She's not going to change her mind. I know. August adjusted his tie for the 10th time. I just want everything to be perfect for her. The small orchestra began to play, signaling the start of the ceremony. The guests turned in their seats, expectant. And then Tiana appeared at the end of the garden path. Without a father to walk with her, she had chosen to walk alone, strong, independent, making her own way. August felt his breath catch. She was radiant, her face glowing with happiness. When she reached him, he took her hands. You are so beautiful, he whispered. The minister welcomed everyone and began the ceremony. The vows were simple, heartfelt promises to love, support, and cherish each other. When it came time for the rings, August had a surprise. Instead of just the simple gold band they had chosen, he presented Tiana with a second ring, a circle of diamonds that fit perfectly with her engagement ring. "Something new to go with something old," he said, nodding to his grandmother's necklace. After they were pronounced husband and wife, August didn't immediately kiss his bride. Instead, he led her to the pianos. "I believe we have a song to play," he said. Together, they sat at their instruments. The guests watched, curious, as the newlyweds began to play the piece Tiana had composed for their wedding. It started with August alone, strong, searching notes that asked a question. Then Tiana joined, her melody answering his. Together they built something powerful and moving, their music weaving together just as their lives now were. When the final notes faded, there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. August leaned over and finally kissed his wife, sealing their union with more than just words. The reception was joyful, dinner under the stars, dancing on the terrace, champagne flowing freely. Tiana and August moved among their guests, accepting congratulations and well wishes. Stephen Keller raised a toast. "To the most talented couple I know, may your life together be as beautiful as the music you create." Even Dr. Martinez, who had come at Tiana's invitation, seemed moved. "You've found a rare thing," she told the couple, "a partnership of equals. Cherish it." Later, as the celebration continued, August pulled Tiana aside. "Happy?" he asked. "More than I ever thought possible." She touched his face. "Thank you for believing in me, for giving me space to find myself even while loving me. Thank you for playing that night at the party." August smiled. "For showing me what real music sounds like. Was it worth the risk? Marrying me because of a silly challenge?" August laughed. "I didn't marry you because of that challenge, Tiana. I married you because you play the most beautiful music I've ever heard. Music that comes from your soul." He pulled her close. "And because when you play, I finally understand what my grandmother meant about love being like a familiar melody. It feels like coming home." They danced under the stars, surrounded by friends and the music that had brought them together. 3 months later, they moved to New York. August rented a spacious apartment near Lincoln Center, with room for 2 pianos and a home studio. While Tiana attended classes at Juilliard, August worked on a new film score and began teaching master classes at NYU. The film they had worked on together was released to critical acclaim. The score, particularly their end credits duet, received special praise. Critics called it a seamless blend of classical technique and raw emotion. Tiana thrived at Juilliard, reconnecting with professors who remembered her talent. This time, she didn't have to worry about finances or her mother's health. She could focus entirely on her music. One evening, as snow fell outside their apartment windows, August called Tiana into the living room. "I have something for you," he said, handing her an envelope. Inside was a formal invitation to a concert at Carnegie Hall, featuring the New York Philharmonic. "We already have tickets for this," Tiana said, confused. "Look at the program." Tiana unfolded the paper and gasped. Listed among the pieces to be performed was What Remains Suite for 2 Pianos and Orchestra by Tiana Brooks Whitmore. "My piece at Carnegie Hall?" She looked up at August in shock. "How?" "I may have sent a recording to the conductor." August grinned. He loved it, said it was the most original composition he'd heard in years. "But I never orchestrated it for—" "I know. That's why you have 3 months to complete it." He took her hands. "You can do this, Tiana. It's time for the world to hear your voice." Tears filled Tiana's eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll let me be in the audience this time, watching you shine." Tiana threw her arms around him. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Over the next 3 months, Tiana worked tirelessly on the orchestration, expanding her original melody into a full suite. August supported her every step of the way, bringing her coffee during late nights, listening to each revision, offering suggestions when asked. The night of the concert arrived. Tiana sat backstage, nervous but ready. August squeezed her hand before taking his seat in the audience. "Remember," he whispered, "play for yourself, like you always do." The conductor introduced the piece, mentioning Tiana's journey from Juilliard student to promising composer. When she walked onto the stage to take her place at the piano, the audience applauded warmly. As the orchestra began to play her music, Tiana felt her mother's presence beside her. She played not just with skill, but with her heart fully open. The melody that had once been just a private expression of pain and hope now soared through Carnegie Hall, touching everyone who heard it. When the final note faded, there was a moment of silence. Then the audience rose to their feet, applauding thunderously. Tiana looked out at the sea of faces and found August standing proudly, tears streaming down his cheeks. In that moment, she knew this was just the beginning of her career, of their life together, of all the music they would create separately and as one. Later that night, back in their apartment, August opened a bottle of champagne. "To your triumph," he toasted, "the first of many." Tiana clinked her glass against his. "To us, and to the music we've yet to write." They stood by the window looking out at the twinkling lights of New York City. So much had changed since that night at the party when a maid stepped forward to play a piano, when a reclusive composer heard something that broke through years of numbness. "Do you ever think about how differently things might have turned out?" Tiana asked. "If I hadn't played that night?" August pulled her close. "I think some songs are meant to be heard. Some people are meant to find each other, even across different worlds. Especially then," he kissed her softly, "because that's when the music is most surprising, most true." Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing the city in white. Inside, Tiana and August Whitmore held each other, listening to the quiet music of their hearts beating in perfect time, a duet that would continue for all their days. Because some melodies, once started, never truly end. They just change, grow, deepen like love itself. And in the space between the notes, in the silence that gives music its meaning, they had found something rare and precious, a harmony that made them both more fully themselves, more fully alive, more fully in love. The end.